Welcome to this deep dive brought to you by Safety One Source, your partner in workplace safety.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're jumping into a really foundational regulation for many of you listening, especially safety professionals, risk managers. We're looking at OSHA standard 1910.15, which deals with safety and health in shipyard employment.
That's the one.
And our mission today, really just to break it down, cut through some of the regulatory language and get clear on what this means for work in and around shipyards.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, this standard wasn't created out of thin air. It actually adopted and, extended safety rules that were already around back in 1971.
Ah, okay. So pre-existing rules.
Yeah, specifically from what used to be parts 1501 to 1503. OSHA basically took those established rules under Section 6A of the Act and said these apply directly to shipyards.
Right. So it's built on things that were already considered best practice, essentially.
Precisely. A solid foundation.
So who needs to be paying close attention here? Who does the standard actually apply to?
Well, the wording is pretty comprehensive. It covers every employment and place of employment of every employee engaged in ship repair, shipbreaking, and shipbuilding, or a related employment.
Wow. Okay, so that's broad. Ship repair, shipbreaking, shipbuilding, or related employment.
It covers a lot of ground. If your work touches any part of that cycle in a shipyard, this standard is definitely for you.
And I assume the onus is on the employer to make sure everyone's safe.
Absolutely. The standard makes it clear. Employers must protect their employees in these sectors. They have to comply with the relevant standards within this Part 1910 regulation. It's fundamental.
Okay, makes sense. Let's maybe get into some of those key terms then. Definitions are always crucial with OSHA regs. How about ship repair? What does that really cover?
Good place to start. It's defined in 1910.15b1 as any repair of a vessel. But like you hinted, it's much more than just, fixing a leak. It includes alterations, maybe adding a new section conversions, like changing a cargo ship to something else, installing new equipment, even just routine cleaning and painting. Maintenance work, basically.
So pretty much anything to keep a ship running or change its function?
Exactly. It captures a huge range of activities.
Okay. What about the other end of the life cycle, shipbreaking?
Right, shipbreaking. That's in 1910.15b2. It's defined as any breaking down of a vessel's structure for the purpose of scrapping the vessel.
Scrapping it? Okay.
Yeah, and that includes removing gear, taking out equipment, basically dismantling the whole thing component by component.
A distinct process, definitely sounds like it has its own hazards. And then the opposite, shipbuilding.
Yep, 1910.15b3. That's defined simply as the construction of a vessel. But importantly, it also specifies the installation of machinery and equipment.
Ah, so it's not just building the hull, it's fitting it out too.
Correct. From laying the keel right through to installing the engines, navigation systems, everything. That whole creation phase.
Now, you mentioned related employment earlier. That sounds like a bit of a catch-all. What falls under that?
It is designed to be broad. The definition, 1910.15b4, says it's any employment performed as an incident to or in conjunction with those main activities, repair, breaking, building.
Okay, like support roles.
Exactly. Think about inspectors, people doing testing on systems, maybe surveyors, even security guards, the watchman mentioned in the standard, anyone whose job supports the main shipyard work.
So it really pulls in more than just the tradespeople directly working on the vessel itself.
It does. It ensures those peripheral but necessary roles are also covered by the safety requirements.
Got it. And lastly, the big one. What exactly counts as a vessel? I imagine it's not just giant container ships.
Yeah, right. It's much broader.
Yeah.
1910.15b5 defines it as every description of watercraft or other artificial contrivance used or capable of being used as a means of transportation on water. That's the first part.
Okay, pretty standard definition there.
But here's the interesting bit for safety folks. It also includes special purpose floating structures not primarily designed for or used as a means of transportation on water.
Ah, like what kind of things are we talking about?
Think about things like floating dry docks, maybe certain types of construction barges or work platforms that float but don't really go anywhere. If it floats and it's used in the shipyard context, it likely counts.
That's a really key point. So even stationary floating structures can be considered vessels for the purpose of this standard.
Precisely. It closes potential loopholes.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. OSHA 1910.15 basically sets the safety stage for almost everything that happens in a shipyard environment, building, fixing, scrapping, and all the related jobs. And employers are responsible for meeting these standards.
That's the core takeaway. Understanding these definitions, ship repair, shipbreaking, shipbuilding, related employment, and vessel, is absolutely step one for compliance. And more importantly, for keeping people safe.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that actually brings up a final thought for you, our listeners, to ponder. Considering how broad that definition of related employment is and how wide the definition of vessel is, how might the standard actually apply to some roles or maybe some unique floating platforms in your specific workplace that you maybe hadn't initially considered under this regulation? Something worth thinking about.
Definitely food for thought.
Well, thanks for digging into this essential standard with us today on this deep dive brought to you by Safety One's Source.